We're going to have some fun today. I hope we do. And we're going to have a little interaction here. It's going to be kind of fun too. So, today's message is about the gift of walking away. There's a picture up here. I think you can take a look at it. It seems to be a male figure. I think it's a male figure, as I interpret it. It seems to be on one end of what I think is a bridge, and a female figure looking back. And you've got to ask yourself, which one has walked away and which one has staying? How does that look? Now, for a moment, I would like you to ask your own self, which one of these characters, the walking away person or the one that is being walked away from, which one do you associate with more? I want you to ask that. And we're going to talk first about us walking away. We're going to be the ones that walk away. And in order to really get into the spirit of this morning, Jane just saw me smile. She knows I'm up to something. Let's go ahead and play a little game with this. What do you say? What do you say? I think we're going to play a little game with this, and let's see how this goes. Yes, indeed. Hi. For the next couple minutes, I'm going to be Alex Trebek of Unity of Kennesaw. I think we're going to have fun with it. And we're going to start off with, it's going to be movies from the 80s. Movies from the 80s. And name a movie trilogy that started in the 1980s. Rocky, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, Creed, and Creed Jr., whatever that one's going to be. Okay, that's starting there. That's a good one. One that might have a sort of lesson with that. My first one when I came up thinking about it was the one with Danny Glover and Lethal Weapon. Lethal Weapon, 1, 2, 3, 4 franchise. And Die Hard franchise. And all those other franchises. It had some good franchises. But Terminator, actually 1, 2, 3, 4, Judgment Day, and that had just a whole blowout too. But there's one that I wanted to really bring in today about walking away, and let's see if I put it in there. And it is, does anybody know what this is? Anybody, this look familiar to anybody? Back to the Future. Back to the Future.
You are so good.
I could have shown him a flux capacitor, but I'm sure Doc over there was just like they're in there with me and Marty McFly. I'm sorry? You stayed wasted in the 80s. I don't think that about you, Doc. I can't see that, but that's okay. Now, Marty McFly was actually played by Michael J. Fox, who's playing he was 22 years old playing a 17-year-old. So, but he was short, and he was very, I won't say effeminate, but fairly diminutive in his stature. He wasn't going to be what I call the traditional leading man, Rocky Balboa type of character. But he seemed to get in trouble all the time, and he let himself get into trouble all the time. It's an amazing thing that in all of the stuff they had Doc Brown. If you want to take a look at this, and I was reading up on this, you compare Back to the Future along with It's a Wonderful Life. Doc Brown was actually his guardian angel, was his Clarence. But he, meaning Michael J. Fox is the part of Marty McFly, had some issues with himself. He had he was letting other boys get him in trouble. Like this guy right here. Anybody know who that is? It's a guy called Needles. He really doesn't show up until Back to the Future 2 or Back to the Future 3. But Needles has a way of goading Marty and saying, "Hey, McFly, are you chicken?" And Marty, being somewhat insecure in himself, it's like he had to prove himself to these gangs, and he would do stuff that would get him in trouble. And Back to the Future 2, where we're going actually forward into the future, when we saw it went up to, if anybody catch the date? Anybody catch the date on the slide up there? It went to 2015 in October. They actually had a 30-year reunion of Back to the Future on the Kimmel Show. If anybody saw that, it was really interesting. And they kept asking questions. Have we got flying cars now? No. Have we solved the peace in the Middle East? No. A lot of things, we still got some of the same problems that they thought, in 30 years in the future, this is how life could be. But when they went back to the future, to the future, they found out that Needles had challenged Marty to a race with their trucks. And Marty should have said no, but he didn't. And he ends up slamming into a Rolls-Royce glider wing. The driver ends up suing him. Marty breaks his hand so he no longer can play in the band. And that begins his descent, if you will, for his life. And Back to the Future 3, we find that Marty has to go back again to the Wild Wild West, where he assumes the persona of a gunslinger. He had to give himself a name, so he said, "Oh, I'll just have to call myself Clint Eastwood." Where there is another bully there that says, "Are you a chicken?" And he asks Marty to step out into the street and go gunfighting. At some point in this trilogy, Marty gets the idea it's okay to walk away. I don't get in trouble and I won't get killed. This is a beautiful thing. So he turns down that fight. He grabs Doc. Doc's in a bad situation. They run out the back. They get in the DeLorean. They hop on a train, push it. Boom! They end up back in 1985. It's a wonderful thing. Right before Marty gets challenged to the race with Needles. And I think I cut out the video for a reason. It has a couple objectionable words, and I didn't want any board members to say, "Dave, that really wasn't appropriate for service," so I just cut it out completely. So we're not going to go there. Not looking at anybody, but it's one of those things that you can see. He made his decision. He learned something from it. He walked away from the problem. And the whole gist of this today is the universe is not punishing us or blessing us. It's simply responding to the vibrational energy that we're using at a particular time. Marty changed. So his world changed also with him. So when he made it through the second time, he, instead of driving forward to the stoplight with Needles, he pulls back, does a U-turn, and goes the other way. The glider still comes out, just like it did in the original show, almost clips Needles. His girlfriend looks at him and said, "What happened?" So, "You didn't think I was going to race that blank, did you?" Marty made the change. It's a beautiful thing. And by the way, I think I've almost given away, especially for Doc. Doc, who's Needles? Who's Needles in real life? All right, this guy's a trivia expert. Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? The Red Hot Chili Peppers? Okay. Maybe that's a cultural reference for people that are a little bit younger than this group. We won't go there, but that's okay. I'm just saying, yes, Doc, you are completely correct. That is Flea right there. That is the modern day Flea. That's the gentleman right there. And he's still got the gap in his teeth right there. That hasn't changed. There's a little bit of hair loss, but that happens to a lot of us. I'm just saying. Have you ever thought of walking away as actually being a demonstration of one of the 12 powers called renunciation? Things that we were able to get rid of. In this particular case, Marty was able to get rid of his attitude, was able to say, "Okay, I am enough in my own self so I can move forward." Now, I'm not saying that walking away is always the best answer. Sometimes it can be a shortcut. And when I say walk away, I don't want you to think, well, could it be about a relationship? Absolutely. Could it be about a job? Yes. Could it be about a mental belief or something that is limiting us? Oh, yes, it can. I go back to my first marriage. Getting divorced was a short-term answer. It was an immediate solution to a long-term problem. It didn't help either one of us. When I got out of service, I had problems with, I like to say I had problems with authority, but maybe not. But it always seems like I ended up with the same jerk boss when I was in the military. So I'll get out of the military. And when I go to corporate America, they just won't tolerate that. There won't be any jerks in corporate America. Surprise, surprise, surprise. There were. And it made life tougher for me because it's like the same person kept showing up in a different body. But it was the same there. And it didn't stop until I changed. My vibrational energy changed. And some of you say I work for the biggest jerk in the world because I'm self-employed. But it was different. It was different. It was no longer a short-term solution. There had been a change. And then the bad people stop showing up. You know, now I'd like us to talk just a moment, going back to it. The universe is not punishing us or blessing us, it is just responding to us. Now, in our piece that we're looking at, walking away, what happens when somebody else walks away? What happens when somebody else walks away? There can be, or a situation walks away. So you get fired at a job. So instead of quitting a job, you get fired. Or you go through a divorce. Or, somebody dies. Or you lose a pet or a child. Those are terrible things. But when somebody else walks away or something walks out of your life, that opportunity is not there anymore. A lot of times we can feel abandoned and empty and isolated. And how do we deal with that? Where is the gift in that? And now I've got a story I'd like to talk to you. It's a true one. It's about two people, Sally and Ralph. The names have been changed to protect the guilty. But Sally and Ralph were married over almost 40 years ago. And they got married. Ralph was a pilot for UPS, and Sally worked a corporate office job. And they got married, and they thought they were happy. And, Ralph would fly, and Sally would stay at home. And eventually they had two kids, two wonderful children. One was named Randy, and the other one was named Jennifer. Randy and Jennifer. And Sally was happy. I mean, Ralph flies off, he comes back in, he's back home about 4 nights a week, and I've got the kids, this is great. I work from home, this is beautiful. Until one day, when she was off at work, she came back, and then little Randy asked her, "Mommy, why does Daddy go naps with the lady across the street?" Yep, that's the exact words. So their marriage ended due to infidelity. And that's a terrible thing. And I think divorce is always, if it's tough on two people that are involved in the marriage, it's always tougher on children because they're always left wondering, what did I do wrong? And it's the same thing that would happen with Randy and Jennifer. Because Randy would go to soccer. His mom was working all the time now. He'd go to soccer and he'd look up at the stands looking for his dad. And Dad was never there. Otherwise, his little sister, Jennifer, would have tea parties. His mom made him participate in the tea party. So she'd have 4 chairs around a little itty-bitty table. I'm sure you've seen them, the dinette tables. It's kind of a thing from back in the 80s. And there'd be a teddy bear sitting at one side. And then when they got ready to have a tea party with Randy and Mommy, she'd take the teddy bear away and said, "Well, why would you take the teddy bear?" I said, "Well, that's for Daddy when he comes." And it didn't get any better. The kids still had hope. On Randy's birthday, he would either go to Six Flags or Whitewater or someplace like that. And the Braves game, when he come back, he said, "Mom, can we check the answering machine just in case Dad left us a message?" For Father's Day, Jennifer would make handwritten cards for her father that was never coming back, and give it to her mother and said, "Can you address this and get it to Dad?" They stood in the big box because they didn't know where Dad was. And that's okay. But then they did find Dad. They did find Randy at some point in time. And it took a great deal of time because at this particular juncture, Randy had now become the same age as Ralph when their parents got married. And he had a child of his own. He had a little girl. And he looked at her and he called up his mom and said, "I took one really good look at my child. And then I really don't ever need to worry about my biological father anymore. Because I looked at her and said, there's no way I could ever let this child go. To not happening in her life." True story. And then, let's not forget Jennifer. She was getting married. And she came to me for some counseling and I said, "Well, is there any way, do you want your father to, maybe not walk you down the aisle, but do you want your father?" And I said, "Oh no, I don't. And then I went to her mother. And I said, Sally, what about this? She said, no. He has done the best thing that he possibly can by not coming or not knowing about this wedding. The gift is because he was not there for the children when they were growing up, when they had the scary nightmares, when they had their, gotten their first automobile accident, when they graduated from high school, from college, when they got their master's degrees. He wasn't there for that. So the most wonderful thing he could possibly do is not show up and cause conflict. He's a persona non grata. See, Sally had moved on. She didn't hate her former husband. She definitely understood him for what it was. She had made the change. Her daughter had made the change. Her son had made the change. And they were ready to move on with their lives. They were now vibrating at a different energy level. They could no longer be hurt by Ralph's actions, or either being drunk or being a philanderer. Again, I want to stress that. Well, I'd like to actually start getting ready to close with a quote by Anais Nin. Some of you might know her. She was a writer in the 1920s and 30s. And the day came when the task to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. At some point in time, we have to look at that. Is it easier to stay connected to something, whether it be a belief, idea, a person, a job, a situation, or is the potentiality of freedom, not having that, more painful? I know what it is like to dance with the devil that I know. Am I willing to let go for something that I'm not sure what it is? And today I challenge you for the same thing we were doing in meditation. If there's something in your life that you need to let go of, need to walk away from, or let it walk away from you, now is a great time. You're in a community that supports you and loves you, and we're always going to be here for you. Namaste.